So I remember that when we do the meditation, that we want to change a habitual way of reacting in the mind. And the better we understand that following attachment is not giving us more pleasure, and following our aversion is not giving us less suffering, the better we can see that, the more we are prepared to stay in the present moment instead of following these reactions. Okay, so that is just a little bit of knowledge at the beginning of the meditation for you to keep in mind. And then we can find a comfortable meditation posture. So the main thing when we meditate is that we have to make sure our back is straight. Straight, and at the same time the shoulders are relaxed. All the muscles along the spine are relaxed. The head is a little bit bent forward. And you just relax your hands, you know, either in your lap or on your thighs, wherever you feel it's comfortable. Your jaws are relaxed. And you allow a little bit of light to come into your eyes. And that is to counteract the sleep, you know, or drowsiness. So go through these points in the body and check if you can bring the different parts of your body in a position that you feel that it helps your mind to relax, your body to relax, and at the same time that you experience some kind of alertness in the mind. So you go through your body, bringing your awareness to your body. And when you feel that there is some tension somewhere, try to release it and then move on. If your mind is still quite distracted, be okay with that. Just try to bring the mind gently back to the body. And when you feel that your body is in the correct posture for doing this meditation, just let your mind rest on your body. And when you feel that your mind starts to relax, that your mind starts to let go, focus your awareness on your breath by observing the rising and falling of your abdomen every time you breathe in and breathe out. You breathe naturally. And you observe the breath without any judgment, without any expectation of how it should be. It is as it is. And that's perfectly fine. And then we set up a positive motivation by thinking that we are doing this meditation not just for our own sake, but that whatever benefit comes from doing this meditation, we becoming more calm, more peaceful, more clear, that might be of greatest benefit to everyone around us, to all sentient beings. And so having opened the mind to all sentient beings, I'm going to ask you now also to open your mind for whatever is going to rise. Meditating with an open mind means that we can accept whatever arises. There is no aversion in the mind. Being open means also that we do not have any expectations of what might come, which means there is no desire in the mind. So try to go to that space in your mind where you allow to arise whatever wants to arise, and where you have no expectations of what might come. Just being open and present. And when the mind is in the present moment, we can see the impermanent nature of things. We can see how feelings arise in the mind and dissolve back into the mind. We can observe our mind reacting to feelings. And if we do not follow this reaction, we can see that that reaction naturally dissolves back into the mind. Being mindful gives us the opportunity to see the impermanent nature of everything. Whatever arises naturally dissolves again. Nothing remains, not even for one moment. Knowing the impermanent nature through experience affects the mind in a deep way. This is a knowing not just on an intellectual level, but it is a knowing deep inside, which affects how we perceive and engage with ourselves and the world. When we see impermanence, naturally there is no clinging to pleasant experiences and no aversion to unpleasant experiences, because we realize there is nothing to hold on to. Everything passes away by itself. Think about that. Feeling arises in every moment of mind. When pleasure arises in the mind, we react with attachment. And this is our attempt to re-experience the pleasant feeling. What we believe is the opposite. We think I need to have attachment in order to experience pleasure. I need to use my attachment in order to experience pleasure. So then for us, if we hear, I have to give up my attachment, it sounds like I have to give up my pleasure. But that's not true. That's not what would happen. When we give up our attachment, we actually experience more full pleasure. So try to contemplate the meaning. And see how that affects your mind. The nature of attachment is that it cannot give you satisfaction. When we follow attachment, there is always something missing, or we want more, or something different, or we want to do it again, to feel it again, to experience it again. For instance, when we sit, after some time we want to stand up. And when we stand up, we want to walk. We never get to a point where everything is totally fine as it is, forever. Maybe for a short time, then we need change again. So that means with following attachment, there is never contentment. We have to keep busy. It's never enough. It is never totally perfect. So according to Buddhism, that is suffering. Never finding that peaceful place. Pleasant feelings arise in dependence on the body, or a concept, an idea. When a pleasant feeling arises, instead of following it, try to step back and give it some space. And we can do that by being mindful, by being in the present moment. Then we will not be carried away by the feeling, and we can stop clinging to it. So when pleasure arises in the mind, we fully enjoy the pleasure. But we stay in the present moment and we do not cling for more. When we practice contentment, we accept what is or what we have. When there is contentment, there is no desire. And without desire, there is no dissatisfaction. So this is where peace starts. And then we can look what we can do with aversion. When unpleasant feelings arise, we react with aversion. And this is our attempt not to experience the unpleasant feeling. We deny or ignore or suppress unpleasant feelings. We distract ourselves, indulging in pleasant activities. And then we say to ourselves that we are trying to relax. See if that is true, that we relax like this in the West by distracting ourselves from unpleasantness by indulging in pleasant activities. So first of all, rejecting unpleasant feelings. Every time we do that, these unpleasant feelings become stronger. And then we can see how we try to relax by doing the meditation. Because the relaxation that comes from being mindful of the unpleasant feelings is very different than the relaxation that comes from distracting ourselves with pleasant feelings. So how does it work? Instead of trying to escape, with mindfulness, we try to look. Mindfulness helps us to understand the nature of things. It helps us to see the impermanence of things. Then, when things happen, we know how to let go. So we don't get disturbed when we lose something or when things change. The mind is undisturbed by loss or harm, and that is the mind of patience. And so then when we look into experiencing unpleasant feelings and pain or suffering arises, we know that it can become quickly huge. And that is because we're so focused on ourselves. So when that happens, try to counteract that by thinking of more suffering. For instance, my suffering is nothing compared to the suffering of others. And you can think of somebody who is in a worse condition than you are. When we suffer, we disconnect. And then whatever we experience looks like the ultimate, the biggest. But when we realize that whatever we experience is always relative, and that the amount depends on what we compare it with, then no matter how much suffering we experience, we can always think about somebody who is having worse experience, worse suffering. In the moment we allow ourselves to experience the suffering and to realize what suffering is, peace begins. Peace lays within the knowledge. As soon as we understand, peace comes. As soon as we understand that we are afraid or worried, and we accept it, peace comes. And the fear and the worry doesn't become bigger. And then recall which contemplation that we did today was most helpful for your mind. And think how you can familiarize yourself more with that. And with that, we bring this meditation to a conclusion. And then we conclude the meditation session by dedicating all the positive energy that we created during the session to the happiness and welfare of all sentient beings. Thank you very much for being here.